What began last summer with an American soldier's daring sprint across the heavily armed North Korean border ended relatively quietly today.
In North Korea, one mistake can wipe out your entire family lineage. And everything their hostages do, and every mistake stays in North Korea since the government isolates Koreans from the whole world. So when a video comes out online, everybody starts paying attention. What's going on inside the country that they don't want the rest of us to see? Let us witness the most horrible leaked videos from the darkest regime in the world. Life under North Korea's iron fist. One such revealing moment was the intense public mourning following the death of Kim Il-sung, North Korea's founding leader, in 1994. The government demanded that everyone show extreme sadness. People were seen crying uncontrollably everywhere, in a display that was as disturbing as it was strange to outsiders. The government controlled every aspect of this grief, including lowering flags and stopping all fun activities. This 10-day period of mourning, which more than 2 million people took part in, showed how isolated North Koreans are and how deeply the government influences their lives. Another incident was when Oh Chung-song, a 25-year-old border guard, tried to escape in 2017. His desperate run across the border to South Korea highlighted his personal misery and the harsh realities of life in North Korea. He was shot 5 times during his escape and was later found to have serious health problems caused by infections with large parasitic worms. This revealed not only the poor living conditions, but also the extreme lengths to which he would go, driven by a deep fear of a potential war with the United States. As someone with a high position and the son of a major general, his fear showed that even those within the higher ranks are desperate to escape the oppressive regime. The assassination of Kim Jong-nam in 2017 is another dark event that leaked out to the world. He was killed in an airport with a poisonous chemical, showing the world how far the North Korean regime will go to silence any threats to its power, even targeting members of its own ruling family. This brutal act was carried out publicly using a dangerous nerve agent, highlighting the regime's willingness to use extreme measures to maintain control and avoid any internal challenges. These stories, each revealing a piece of life in North Korea, show a society under strict government control, where public displays of loyalty are enforced and fear of the outside world is instilled in the citizens. From the orchestrated public mourning of a leader, the terrifying escape attempts of individuals, to the public execution of a potential political threat, these events illustrate a government that controls through fear and severe restrictions. This environment not only demands that its people show loyalty, but also keeps them in a constant state of fear, making their reality seem as strange and frightening as any fictional dystopia. In the bustling international airport of Malaysia, a scene straight out of a spy thriller unfolded, featuring Kim Jong-nam, the estranged older half-brother of North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un. Rumors suggest that Kim Jong-un himself might have orchestrated the grim fate that awaited Jong-nam that day. Historically, Jong-nam had been out of favor with his family's ruling dynasty, living in exile, which perhaps marked him as a target long before the incident. As Jong-nam walked through the airport, he was approached by 2 women. Unbeknownst to him, these women were about to play a fatal role in his life. One of them attacked him subtly, smearing his face with a deadly nerve agent known as VX, potent enough to kill with just a tiny amount. Following this unexpected assault, a disoriented Jong-nam sought help from an airport receptionist who quickly led him to the authorities. There, he described the odd assault. First, a liquid thrown on his face, and then a cloth soaked with another toxic substance pressed against his skin. The women who attacked him had already melted back into the crowd by then. With the toxic agent swiftly affecting his body, Jong-nam was rushed into an ambulance. Sadly, he passed away within minutes, a tragic end to his life far from his homeland. Meanwhile, 4 North Korean men, identified later as spies, left the scene smoothly, heading back to Pyongyang without facing any consequences. Other North Koreans involved were briefly detained but released soon after. Elsewhere, in a more secluded part of North Korea, a starkly different kind of drama was being staged in the city of Suji. Here, a public trial was held to instill fear among the citizens. The defendants were ordinary people accused of watching South Korean movies and listening to K-pop music. These cultural acts were viewed by the regime as threats to its strict, austere control. The trial was broadcast by the state media, which painted these activities as major crimes, potentially including other unnamed serious offenses. Although the broadcast did not reveal the sentences, they were likely harsh, reflecting the government's brutal crackdown on even the smallest signs of dissent. This atmosphere of intimidation reflects the broader, grim reality of life under the North Korean regime, characterized by severe shortages and widespread hunger. In 2021, reports from a research institute in Seoul highlighted that North Korea failed to produce enough food by a significant margin, not meeting its own people's basic needs. Confirming this, the United Nations reported ongoing food shortages and predicted future problems. The situation has left millions food insecure, with tens of thousands of children under 5 facing severe malnutrition, a silent crisis pointing to the regime's negligence. Let's dive deeper into the unusual sights and hidden truths of North Korea. North Korea's cult of the traffic girl. Amidst this, an odd form of state spectacle plays out daily on the streets of Pyongyang, where female traffic police are stationed at major intersections. These women, chosen for their physical attractiveness rather than their skill in managing traffic, symbolize the regime's focus on image over substance. They have become so iconic that they've inspired a peculiar fandom, complete with a website that features a traffic girl of the month. This odd celebration showcases how the regime uses propaganda and a touch of glamour to distract from the more severe issues at hand. In North Korea, the reality often mirrors a staged performance where the government meticulously controls every aspect to maintain its grip on power and keep the population in fear. The true state of affairs, the hardships and the struggles faced by its people, remains hidden behind a curtain of secrecy and spectacle. In North Korea, an unusual focus on traffic regulation becomes a deep-seated cultural phenomenon, extending well beyond basic road safety. The traffic girls, dressed in neat uniforms, are not just tasked with guiding the light flow of traffic in Pyongyang, but also embody symbols in a carefully crafted propaganda effort. Their likenesses are everywhere, on stamps, flyers, posters, and even billboards, celebrating their almost ritualistic role in managing the intersections of the capital. The government's control over its narrative even reaches into children's playrooms, with dolls based on these traffic controllers serving both as toys and tools for early indoctrination. This excessive glorification of simple roles hides a more troubling picture of the state's severe control over its people, illustrated vividly by the consequences for those who dare to cross the heavily fortified borders of this isolated nation. Consider the baffling case of Private Travis King, whose sudden dash across the heavily guarded Korean DMZ was witnessed by his tour group. King's run into the mysterious territory of North Korea serves as a stark reminder of the deep tensions between the two Koreas. Since his disappearance, there has been no word from North Korea, casting a grim outlook on his situation, given the frosty relations that linger over the peninsula. King's story is not unique among Americans who have found themselves under the harsh gaze of North Korean law. Recall Otto Warmbier, the young college student whose trip to North Korea ended in tragedy. Arrested for supposedly trying to steal a propaganda poster, Warmbier was sentenced to 15 years in a labor camp. His ordeal ended tragically with death shortly after he was returned to the U.S., brain damaged and in a coma. His case, like many others, highlights the extreme risks associated with mere curiosity in a land where such a trait can lead to deadly consequences. The dangers extend to North Korean citizens too, who face harsh punishments for consuming foreign media. Take the example of 2 teenagers who were sentenced to hard labor simply for watching South Korean TV dramas, an act so severely punished that it involved public humiliation and served as a grim reminder of the regime's unyielding control over information. In a country where watching a foreign drama can result in such severe consequences, the distinction between cultural interest and criminal behavior becomes dangerously blurred. Further emphasizing themes of control and escape is the story of a North Korean man who, having fled to China, made a bold escape from a Chinese prison. He faced the grim prospect of being sent back to North Korea, where even harsher punishments awaited him. His dramatic escape, including a movie-like jump over an electrified fence, highlights the desperate lengths to which people go under the oppressive North Korean regime. These stories from North Korea, from the adored traffic controllers to the distressing tales of escape, sketch a vivid portrait of a nation caught between the grandeur of its public image and the harsh realities of its authoritarian control. It's a place where the odd and the oppressive intertwine, where every aspect of daily life is incorporated into the larger narrative of state propaganda and control. This complex interplay offers a chilling yet intriguing glimpse into the power dynamics at play in one of the world's most secretive countries. Rumors swirl about someone escaping from prison just to avoid the dreadful situation back at number 10, a notorious place where child labor is used at a ski resort, as reported by NBC News in 2017. This broadcast showed a grim scene high up in the mountains where workers, including disturbingly young children, were seen clearing snow-covered roads with basic tools. The children, wearing hardly any winter clothing, used axes, sticks, and homemade shovels to clear the way for tourists heading to a ski resort. The report highlighted that these young laborers, some as young as 10 or 11, performed this tough work without the help of modern equipment like salt and snow plows used elsewhere in the world. This harsh reality starkly contrasts with North Korea's portrayal of the ski resort as a national treasure. Constructed at a cost of $35 million and located just 3 hours north of Pyongyang, the resort showcases the grand projects Kim Jong-un favored. Yet beneath the resort's glitzy facade lies a disturbing truth of exploitation, where vulnerable children endure harsh conditions to maintain the illusion of a winter paradise. The situation of North Korean orphans has also caught the attention of the United States. Advocacy efforts have been made for Americans to adopt these children, inspired by their difficult circumstances. The North Korean Child Welfare Act of 2012, signed by President Obama, aims to improve the lives of these children by promoting family reunions and adoption. The act primarily aims to help orphans hidden in China and other countries, providing them with a chance at a better life if they reach South Korea. There, they are offered adoption, citizenship, and educational opportunities, unlike their peers left behind. Next, we'll see how deep the control goes and what some will do to escape it, exposing North Korea's secret prisons. However, the numbers tell a more troubling story. Each year, about 50 North Korean children under the age of 24 manage to escape to South Korea without their families, but they represent only 2% of all the defectors who settle there. This low number highlights the extreme risks and challenges these young individuals face in their quest for freedom, underscoring the perilous journey they undertake to escape the oppressive North Korean regime. This situation raises questions about the real impact of international efforts and the genuine motivations behind large-scale humanitarian projects. While these initiatives are presented as acts of kindness and support for vulnerable populations, the underlying effectiveness and real-world benefits of such policies warrant scrutiny. Are these efforts truly beneficial, or do they merely serve as diplomatic gestures? The stark difference between the publicized intentions and the actual help received by these children suggests a gap in the effectiveness of such international policies, revealing a more cynical reality behind the scenes of supposed benevolence. In North Korea, a place known for its strict and secretive government, reports of terrible treatment in its prisons are becoming more widely understood. A group called Korea Future has been working hard to uncover and share these harsh realities. They use many methods to do this, including looking at official papers, images from space, studying building layouts, creating digital models, and talking to a lot of people who have managed to leave North Korea. These people include those who have survived the prisons, witnesses to the horrors, and even those who once enforced the cruel rules, but have since fled. Korea Future's investigations have exposed a frightening picture of what life is like inside these prisons. They've made 3D models of the prison buildings, trying to show the world places that are otherwise hidden. They've found and reported over 1,000 cases where people were treated very badly, being hurt on purpose, forced to have abortions, locked up alone without being told why, and given so little food that they resorted to eating bugs to survive. The emotional damage these prisoners endure often doesn't get as much attention. The loneliness of being in solitary confinement, not knowing why they're there or for how long, and being treated less than human, it seems like the goal is to scare and control people, making sure they and others are too afraid to resist or speak out. Some escape stories, like those of North Korean orphans who end up in safer places like South Korean schools or homes, show the extremes people will go to for a chance at a better life. These stories are a sharp contrast to the darkness they fled and highlight how where you are born can drastically change your life. The number of abuses Korea Future has documented is overwhelming and systematic, suggesting that the North Korean regime uses these punishments as a way to keep everyone in line through fear. They've not only reported on the everyday cruelty, but have also highlighted instances where people's very right to live was taken away. Behind every number is a real person whose basic rights were ignored in a system that sees them as nothing more than tools for maintaining control. These reports from Korea Future aren't just for the record. They're calls for the world to pay attention and do something about the human rights abuses that continue largely unchecked in isolated parts of the world like North Korea. They raise tough questions about the effectiveness of international penalties and the overall global response to such atrocities. How many more reports and models do we need to see before real action is taken? The tragic case of a young woman found dead in a field in 2010 after she had spoken to a journalist is a poignant reminder of the personal risks involved in speaking out. Her highlights the extreme dangers faced by those who try to expose the truth about North Korea. Each story of abuse, each life lost, serves as a powerful argument for more decisive international action to address these severe human rights violations. The efforts of groups like Korea Future are vital. They're not just collecting data, they're trying to stir the world into action by showing the severe and often hidden injustices in North Korea. As they continue to gather evidence and share these troubling stories, they hope that the world will listen and respond, helping to bring an end to the suffering of so many innocent people trapped in such a brutal system. An undercover agent, while working in a city's poorer areas, found a woman looking extremely thin and dirty. She was barely able to speak as she shared her sad story of losing her parents and home, leaving her homeless. She was collecting grass at that time, a sad task she had to do to feed rabbits. This strange duty required by many in her region, where even small comforts are scarce. The heartbreaking image of her struggle was recorded in a video that was secretly taken out of the country, bypassing strict government controls on information. When this video was shown on various international news channels and later highlighted in a segment by a South Korean news outlet, it triggered a worldwide reaction. People from across the globe expressed their shock and sadness online, deeply moved by her plight. Sadly, not long after her story gained international attention, she was found dead, hinting at a dark and forceful silencing of those in desperate situations who find their stories reaching the outside world. Now let's look at how the world reacts to North Korea's dramatic actions. The devastating fate of freedom seekers. In another part of the world, anger rose over the fate of two North Korean fishermen who had tried to flee their country. Accused of taking part in a deadly uprising against their abusive captain, which resulted in the deaths of 16 fellow crew members, they sought refuge in South Korea. However, their attempt to escape ended in tragedy when they were captured and forcefully taken back to North Korea. The images that showed their fearful return sparked outrage, depicting the two men in distress as they were handed over to North Korean authorities waiting across the border. This marked a shocking first since the ceasefire agreement of the Korean War in 1953, bringing international attention to the severe human rights abuses in North Korea. The action was widely condemned by both human rights groups and South Korean politicians, who argued that these men would not receive a fair trial. Their return was seen as a clear indication of the brutal treatment that awaits those who challenge the authoritarian North Korean regime, emphasizing the lack of freedom and fairness in the country. Another unsettling event occurred in 2019 involving Stephanie Grisham, a U.S. official, during an official engagement. A violent confrontation with North Korean security highlighted the constant tension and danger present in international relations, especially in areas controlled by oppressive regimes. This incident added another layer to the ongoing issues of safety and diplomacy on the international stage, showing how quickly situations can escalate and the high stakes involved in dealing with governments that do not adhere to international norms of behavior. These events collectively draw attention to the ongoing struggle for human rights across the globe. They remind us that the fight for justice and freedom is fraught with dangers, especially for those living under authoritarian governments. International reactions to these incidents show a shared global concern for human rights and underscore the importance of global awareness and action in addressing these issues. As more people become aware of and speak out against these injustices, the pressure on oppressive governments to change increases, highlighting the role of international solidarity and advocacy in the quest for a fairer and freer world. During a high-profile summit, tension filled the air as important discussions were happening between Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump. In the midst of this, Stephanie Grisham, the White House secretary at the time, got involved in a physical confrontation just outside the meeting room. The incident happened in a flurry as reporters from both the US and North Korea rushed to catch a glimpse of the event. Sources close to the situation mentioned that Grisham ended up with a few minor injuries from the scuffle. It seems that even in these high-level diplomatic meetings, unexpected and rough incidents can occur. After the tussle, Grisham, showing both resilience and dedication to her role, managed to guide the media out of the building. Her actions helped maintain some order amidst the chaotic rush of journalists eager for news. Despite the earlier altercation, she later stood by President Trump at the demilitarized zone, appearing perfectly fine. This showed the public that she was unharmed and capable, illustrating the toughness and quick recovery often required of government officials in such high-stakes environments. The backdrop to this drama was President Trump's hint the day before about a potential historic moment. He had tweeted about the possibility of meeting Kim Jong-un at the DMZ and suggested he might even step into North Korea. This idea added a theatrical flair to the entire situation, blending boldness with the typical unpredictability associated with Trump's style of leadership. Meanwhile, another dramatic scene was unfolding that involved North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un. He was traveling to Russia in a train that was as much a symbol of luxury as it was of military readiness. This bulletproof train, adorned with yellow stripes, was both grand and battle-equipped, reflecting the dual aspects of North Korean power display, showy yet always prepared for conflict. This event, along with the train journey, highlights the complex and often contradictory world of international politics, where every action and symbol carries deep meanings. Leaders use dramatic gestures and symbols like a luxurious, fortified train to project strength and sophistication. Behind the high-profile meetings and handshakes, there are often hidden tensions and conflicts, as seen in Grisham's scuffle. As the world watches these events unfold, it becomes clear that international diplomacy involves more than just talks. It is a blend of spectacle, strategy, and sometimes physical confrontations. These incidents remind us that the realm of global politics is not just about making decisions, but also about managing perceptions and surviving the unexpected challenges that come along. Kim Jong-un has traveled abroad 7 times since he became the leader in 2011, and he's visited South Korea twice. His travels are done in a special train known as the Moving Fortress, which is more like a tank on rails than a regular train. It's built with thick walls and floors, bulletproof windows, and is designed to withstand explosions. It's not fast, but it's loaded with weapons and guarded by many security personnel. The South Korean Ministry of Unification describes it as a slow-moving fortress that emphasizes safety over speed. This focus on heavy security is mirrored in the darker parts of North Korea's history, such as the notorious Camp 22. Although it was rumored to have been closed in 2012, the memories of the horrors that occurred there linger. Completely isolated from the outside world, Camp 22 was a maximum security prison where unthinkable suffering was everyday life. A guard who worked there shared his initial shock at seeing the conditions. He compared the prisoners to characters from a horror story, people who were crippled, extremely short, or looked like skeletons walking around in torn clothes. Let's explore the tough conditions inside North Korea and the world's response. No mercy for political prisoners. He noted that many prisoners had severe injuries and deformities. Some had lost their eyes, others had no ears, and many had faces marked with scars from harsh treatment. About 30% of the prisoners had these kinds of severe injuries, and roughly 2,000 of them had lost limbs, forced to live their lives in extreme disability and anguish. The brutality of North Korea's treatment of its people is not limited to the past. It continues as a grim reality under the regime's strict control. The state's mechanisms of control are relentless, designed to break both the human body and spirit, reducing people to shadows of themselves. In this environment, fear and suppression are common, and the state exerts its power with a cruel efficiency. Kim Jong-un's armored train, with its emphasis on defense and isolation, is a reflection of his leadership style. Paranoid, fortified, and isolated. It moves slowly, encased in its protective shell, much like the regime itself, which operates in secrecy and maintains its power through intense and often violent means. This train isn't just a mode of transportation, it's a symbol of how North Korea operates. Closed off, heavily guarded, and always prepared for threats, real or imagined. Recent investigations by Human Rights Watch, a group from the United States, have brought to light some shocking truths about what happens to people who are held in jail before their trial even starts. The findings reveal a deeply disturbing scenario where suspects are treated worse than animals, enduring not only imprisonment in filthy, tiny spaces, but also facing regular humiliation and physical abuse. The evidence for these claims comes from interviews with 15 individuals, both men and women, who have experienced these harsh conditions firsthand. Their painful stories are supported by accounts from former officials who confirm these serious abuses within the justice system. These detainees, often arrested for minor or unproven reasons, find themselves trapped in a nightmarish situation. They are pressured to admit to crimes they may not have committed, with confessions wrung out of them through intense and relentless pressure. In such detention centers, the basic human needs for proper clothing and enough food are frequently denied. This isn't just due to neglect. It appears to be a deliberate strategy to break down the detainees' spirit and force them to cooperate with authorities. This brutal tactic is part of a broader, unjust system where the rule of law is manipulated to suppress and control individuals. Expanding our view, we can look at North Korea, a country infamous for its harsh treatment of those accused of political offenses. In North Korea, people suspected of political crimes are arrested and sent to prison camps without any chance to defend themselves in a trial. The locations of these camps are often kept secret, even from the prisoners' families. According to estimates from the United Nations, about 120,000 individuals are currently enduring such conditions, effectively erased from society and forgotten by the outside world. These investigations do more than just uncover acts of cruelty and rights violations. They highlight a deep-seated corruption within legal and bureaucratic systems across different countries. This corruption shows how laws and power can be twisted to oppress individuals under the pretense of maintaining order. The shocking reality brought forth by these investigations serves as a stark warning about how easily justice can be corrupted and ignored, leaving those caught in its machinery stripped of their rights and dignity. By shedding light on these abuses, Human Rights Watch aims to spark change and encourage reforms that will prevent such inhumane treatment in the future. This ongoing struggle for justice and human decency is crucial in challenging the oppressive systems that lurk behind the facade of legal proceedings. In North Korea, there are several harsh political prisons that have been around since 2014. The conditions in these prisons are extremely tough, with inmates suffering through things like not having enough food, being forced to work very hard, and being treated violently both physically and mentally. Disturbing acts such as killing newborns and forcing abortions happen, often displayed publicly as a show of the government's control over people's most private rights. A report from the United Nations points out that over the last 50 years, hundreds of thousands of people who were held for their political beliefs have died in these prisons. But it's not just political prisoners who face harsh conditions. North Korea also has other prisons for people accused of regular crimes. Some of these are short-term work camps, while others are long-term facilities where people are continuously underfed and subjected to various other cruel treatments. The videos that occasionally leak out showing these harsh conditions make us wonder how long this can keep going. Yet there is no clear answer. Everyone in North Korea is constantly watched by the government, which controls every part of their lives. Nothing is private or free from government interference. It's a really tough situation that no one should have to go through. Despite this, the global community often seems to just watch from a distance. The strength of the North Korean government continues to impose a heavy burden on its people. This makes us question how much more the world can ignore. In today's fast-moving world where information is readily available, the ongoing suffering in North Korea challenges us to think about how effective and genuine international efforts are, when it comes to addressing such severe violations of human rights. It's a harsh reality that challenges our values and asks hard questions about our commitment to human rights. The silence and inaction on these issues make us reflect on our own views about justice and international responsibility. As we continue to hear about these abuses, the real test for the global community is not just in condemning these acts, but in taking meaningful action to help those affected. The situation in North Korea is not just a distant problem, but a constant reminder of the work that needs to be done to support and uphold human dignity everywhere. What actions should the global community take to effectively address these human rights violations? Like, comment, and subscribe to join the discussion and share your views.